Alright, now that we have the airbox out of the way, we're going to use a 11mm deep socket to get these band clamps off. I've already taken the one off the actual intake housing, but just to show you guys what's going on. You just want to undo it until this spring right here, you start to see some space in between. You see the actual threads of the bolt in the middle of it, and that should be plenty. Then, once you do that, very gently, just kind of wiggle. And mine's already loose, as you can tell, but you'll probably have the same problem. And just kind of, don't shove it in there, just kind of just pick up the top. You know, you don't want to damage this because, you know, you don't want to have to replace parts that were just, you know, didn't need to be replaced. Just kind of work it out, and it should just pop right off. Then, that's that side. Then right here, my cameraman will show you, you got the same style band clamp, sorry if the lighting's kind of bad, that goes right here. And that's the same thing. It's a 12mm deep socket. Mine is just kind of rigged. Somebody before me that had the truck rigged it with some regular hose clamps. So all I had to do was take off this hose clamp. I chose to leave the rubber side mounted on the intercooler because I just found that, in my opinion, it'd be easier just to thumb that on because this end of the hose is a lot more open and you can kind of wiggle it in a lot better than if I had to wiggle the other end onto the inlet for the turbo, for the intercooler. So then now that that's out, just kind of pulled this out. And this was kind of like a mixed blessing for me. I found out that this pipe had been rubbing on the power steering pump. There's a little 90 that comes out of the power steering pump and made a hole right here. I've already taken this to a welding shop, exhaust shop. I know a couple welders myself that just do it on their spare time. Had them welded up real good, minimal flux on the inside, real good job. And this will get me by for right now, and I can trust it. You know, I'm not going to have all kinds of crazy pressures where that might blow out and this and that. And on top of that, I think it's like 60,000 tensile strength anyway when you weld this. This is just like galvanized steel, I assume. I don't know. Put it in the back of the truck. Now we have now we can see the valve cover and everything else. We see that this is the wiring harness that goes through the gasket for the glow plugs and the fuel injectors. You're going to want to take a flathead screwdriver, just kind of pry that out. You want to push down on this thing right here, on this side, and pop it out. Should come out. You're just going to have to wiggle it again. I think it's my opinion that these are kind of old and kind of probably on the verge of cracking wire, so I just wanted to be as gentle as possible. You'll have to use, before you do that, kind of going backwards here, this is the doghouse. This is what they call the doghouse. This is on top. To take this off, it takes just a bigger Phillips to get it off. And what I do, I was reading on the site when I first joined, there's a thing where you can, like an upgrade, somebody figured out that you can take this, turn it around, and then run a hose down to the back underneath the fender well to like a modified PVC pipe that'll just vent it into that PVC pipe, and you won't get your blow-by going into your motor if you have any. No extra pressures, which is good because I don't know, I just don't think it belongs in going into the air intake. So again, Phillips, big Phillips, take that off. It'll work better if you have like a snub Phillips because you kind of don't have too much space right here. Take that off. The reason why you have to take that off is because of this bolt. There's no way that I found that I could get to that bolt, whether with a wrench or anything else, this bolt hole, without taking this off. So that's why I went ahead and taken it off. Now, all of these bolts, what you're not seeing right here is this is the engine harness. This is a 10mm bolt. You take that off, and then that is mounted to a bracket that's right here that I've already taken off, and it's mounted to, and it's just kind of like an L bracket pointing up that has these studs right here. Okay, that's why I would say use a deep well socket. That's the only tool, 12mm deep well socket, which we already have on the driver, to take that off because you're going to need it to pull off these studs. Once you pull off those studs, then you can remove the valve cover. Again, you don't want to pry, you don't want to do anything crazy, because if you'll see right here, this valve cover gasket runs wires through it. $60 all day long for the set at AutoZone, and you don't really want to have to mess with that. And then even in the Haynes manual, it says that they're reusable as long as they're not damaged. Okay, so you just kind of work them off, pull them off. Might need to move some wiring out of the way a little bit, and we're blessed because this side comes out pretty easily. Now, I was surprised to find no grime, no buildup, no anything whenever I pulled the valve covers on the motor. I might actually be doing worse for this motor by by doing this because of just the dirt around and everything else. I'm sure you guys are going to scoff about that. Should have been cleaner about it, I know. But if you're looking here, I don't have any oil buildup. I don't know if that's natural or anything else. And this is the first indication to me that maybe this motor's been rebuilt. So, coming here expecting the worst, and I was actually pleasantly surprised that I might actually have something good here. You can tell that these are the old fuel injectors because they're brown and stained and this and that. But to me, every time I've ever replaced the head, I've noticed that these are, like, they always paint the valve spring. So, and then again, no excess oil caked up anywhere or anything like that. Now, what you're looking at here is obviously this is your rocker arms, your valve spring and valves. You can see your push rods right here. And this is the wiring harness that comes through on this side. Remember, it was plugged in like this, and it comes out to this side. Kind of inspected a little bit. You want to make sure that none of these clips came off and are down there, or this or that. The white wires are for your are for your glow plugs, okay? And they are just snapped down in on there. I used my needle nose pliers and very carefully pulled not on the white wire, but on the actual boot, like so, and was able to take them off pretty easily. I mean, they fit on better than a plug wire on a spark plug. Now that that's out of the way, you can get to where you see your glow plugs. For that is why I had to buy the extension. Not just like to keep this right here, it helps out with parts and this and that. Too cheap to buy a magnetic tray, I know, huh? Long extension. Put up my 12mm and get out the 10mm. Okay? Pull this out. This is what you're gonna need. Deep socket. I found that it worked out better. The only problem is, I went ahead and went with a 1/4 inch because of the clearance issues. It's very tight in here. You actually have to go in between the plug of the fuel injector and the push rod, and you'll see it. If I can take the camera for a second, I'll show you that it's down there to the right. I mean, there's barely enough light. It's just down there in that hole. That's the best I can tell you. That's where we got to go.